I almost said Teen Wolf again, oh my god! Hello viewers, welcome to my new YouTube show called Gen Z and the 80s. I have always had a deep love for the 80s, and I've always had a deep love for movies. So I wanted to make a little YouTube series to share my passions with the internet. Like, I've been wanting to make a YouTube series about movies for a really long time now, but the absolute horrors of high school stopped me. I shouldn't have let it stop me, but it did stop me. But now I'm graduated because I am a part of the unfortunate class of 2020. It's been straight up not a good time for us, but you know what? We did it. I got my diploma. I even decorated my cap. I just wanted to show it. This has nothing to do with anything in this video, but I'm just really proud of it, so I just wanted to show it. In this show, I'll be talking about the good, bad, underrated, and overrated movies to come from the 80s. I'll be mostly doing teen movies because, I don't know, I just really love the teen movies from the 80s. Maybe it's because I'm a teenager. I mean, 18 is still a teenager, but I don't really feel too much of a teenager anymore. In this episode, I'll be talking about 1989's Teen Witch, starring Blake Lively's older sister. Basically, this movie is about a loser, outcast teenage girl who ends up getting magical abilities, and magical shenanigans ensue, and she ends up becoming the most popular girl in school. You're probably wondering, wait, isn't that already a movie? This movie was actually pitched as a female version of Teen Wolf, but they changed the werewolf aspect to a witch because, I don't know, I guess girls can't be werewolves. I mean, I guess we have to be pretty throughout the whole movie. And then they also decided to throw in some musical numbers. Not enough to make it a full musical, but they're there. This movie was actually a huge failure when it came out. It made exactly $27,843 against its $2.5 million budget. Man, the movie studio was really thriving with that one. But it did manage to find success after rerunning on TV many times, which including Disney Channel, which they probably had to cut out a lot of stuff out of this movie for it to run on Disney Channel. But now it's actually achieved cult status, mainly because of a musical number in this movie I'll get to later. So let's jump right in. So the movie first opens up with a really long, weird, and boring dream sequence. I understand the need to have opening credits, but I mean, they could make it at least a little more interesting. It's just really awkward because all it is the protagonist, whose name is Louise, and her love interest, whose name is Brad, walking towards each other in slow motion, dancing in slow motion, and even staring at each other in slow motion. The opening scene doesn't have anything to do with the story in any way. All it does is establish the fact that she has a crush on Brad, but we get into that in the later scenes in this movie anyway, so what's the point in this scene? Honestly, I feel like this whole dream sequence was a missed opportunity to foreshadow the fact that she's going to have magical powers. It makes perfect sense for the opening to a movie called Teen Witch to have absolutely nothing to do with witches. Perfect sense. I will admit though, I do like the lighting in this scene, and I also like her hair. That's it. Then after 4 minutes of that, which 4 minutes may not sound like long, but trust me, it's a long time. Louise wakes up and finds that her annoying kid sibling that every 80s teen movie protagonist has is in her room. This is Richie. He's annoying and he likes food. That's it. Anyway, he's all like, haha, I read your diary, stupid sister. He even rips out a page, which I'm assuming he's gonna keep, which is really weird, but you know what? I'll ask my own kid brother what he would do if he found my diary. So Layton, if you ever found my diary, what would you do with it?
I would probably I would like look for like one page and that was it, and then I would put it back up.
So you wouldn't rip out the page and keep it?
God, no.
Okay. Well, that settles it. Either way, this rip page comes back in later, so keep that in mind. Thank you. Your services are no longer needed.
Bye.
Then, Louise's best friend, Polly, who, by the way, is one of the most toxic friends in cinematic history, meets up with Louise at her house so they can ride to school together. They see Brad pick up his mean, popular cheerleader girlfriend, Randa, who lives across the street from Louise apparently. And then Polly looks at her and she's all like, what she's wearing is so sleazy. Even though what Randa is wearing probably wouldn't even get her dress coded. A skirt. Tramp. They then arrive at school and oh lord.
A time we're feeling cool. Don't really need to be hanging in school.
I guess this is the 80s equivalent to the kid who would walk in the hallways with a speaker in his backpack. Maybe it was a little different back in the 80s, but if anyone would have done this at my high school, they would have gotten relentlessly made fun of. I still remember my freshman year. I was quietly singing my audition piece for our school's production of Seussical because every high school ever has done a production of Seussical. I remember I was sitting there singing and I look over and I see the freshman table full of the freshman football jocks laughing and making fun of me. So I somewhat speak from experience. Quick advice to upcoming high school freshmen: don't ever be that person to sing your show tunes when it's not appropriate. Not gonna lie, I kind of deserve to get made fun of that time. Louise then gets to class, which is taught by the worst teacher ever. Like, he literally asks the question to the whole class, and Louise answers the question, and he straight up yells at her. It's like, bro, you asked the question, and she answered. What's your problem? So then the teacher asks them to pass up their papers, and oh no! The paper ripped from her diary gets passed up too! The teacher decides to read it in front of the whole class.
Soon, every inch of my body was covered with Brad's kisses. Who would believe tonight?
Louise is rightfully humiliated and she runs out of the room. Now we are in the girls' locker room and one of the cheerleaders comes up and she's all like, hey cheerleaders, I got a new chair. It's so fab. I don't know what I was expecting, but this wasn't it.
I like boys.
They go into a full-blown musical number about how they like boys.
I realized this morning I like boys.
Look, I know I'm supposed to suspend all logic here, but I have so many questions. First, if only the one chick, if this is a whole new chair, and only the one chick knows about it, then how do the other girls know, like, the words and choreography? Second, can you imagine being at a halftime game and all of a sudden the cheerleaders come out, they start twirling with towels, start singing about how they like boys? Because I just can't see that being a cheer routine, but okay. Third, I just love how unfazed Louise is by all this. Like, is this just an everyday occurrence at the school and she's just like, oh, they're doing it again. Ah, well. I think the biggest problem with this movie is that it doesn't know what it wants to be. It wants to have musical numbers, but it doesn't want to be a musical. The problem with the random musical numbers in this movie is that they are very few and far between. So when they do happen, it throws the audience off. None of the songs in this movie convey any type of emotion that the characters are feeling, so it doesn't move the plot forward, and it just puts the movie at a grinding halt. Are these musical numbers enjoyable though? Yes, Very much so, just not in the way they were intended to be enjoyed. After I Like Boys stopped, I had to pause the movie for like 10 minutes just to process what had just happened. And the best part about I Like Boys, it's not even the worst musical number in this movie. We'll get to that one later. Anyway, the song abruptly ends with the coach coming up and blowing her whistle. She may have had no lines. She may have never shown up in this movie ever again. But I'm just gonna say it. She's the best character in this movie. Louise then spies on Brad during football practice in a scene that honestly reminds me of a TikTok Timothy Chalamet edit. After the scene that is solely there to establish how hot Brad is, which I do gotta say, did a pretty good job establishing it. They have what I'm assuming are callbacks for the school play. Louise and Brad perform a scene together, but then directly after they're done, the theater director announces the roles and Louise ends up losing the role to the popular girl. I'm just really confused. Like, why did they have the callbacks if they announced the roles right after? Like, did they have them predetermined or something? I mean, if they did, they're not they're not trying to hide it. Louise is then walking home when Brad, who is the second worst driver in this movie, I will get to that one later, straight up runs her off the road. He offers to take her home, but then Miranda is all like, oh my god, Brad, she says she's fine, let's just go. And so they leave Louise out in the dark by herself. Louise then comes across the house from the Thriller music video. No, really, that's the same house. Inside the Thriller music video house is the Mr. Miyagi of this movie, Madame Serena, who is also a witch. Which witch? This movie is called Teen Witch. We're 20 minutes in, and we're just now getting to the witch stuff. We had, like little wink wink or hint hint or foreshadowing. There was no witches in this movie up until this point. Absolutely no mention of it. Don't be too satisfied, because even after this point in the movie, it still takes forever for it to get to the witch stuff, because Madame Serena informs Louise that she's not going to inherit her powers until her 16th birthday. Also something about Salem witch trials. I don't know, this part ain't important. And then conveniently in the very next scene, Louise is celebrating her 16th birthday. So Louise is celebrating her 16th birthday, but oh no! Nobody has shown up! And why has nobody shown up, you may ask? Polly calls Louise and she's all like, hi Louise, I'm gonna be late to your party because I'm a terrible friend, but I just heard that Randa is having a party and she invited the whole school, and that's why nobody has shown up. First of all, if Randa is having a party, then wouldn't Louise know about it since she lives right across the street from her? Let's just assume that Randa is having her party somewhere else. Well, Louise would still have some guess, because I didn't talk about it, but there were these nerds in the beginning of the movie that she talked to, and they seemed like they were friendly with each other, so like, wouldn't she have them as guests? Because most likely they would have gone to Louise's instead of Randa's. Well, if Louise didn't invite these nerds, then, well, I mean, that's her own fault. So then we get to the next scene, and it takes place in a health class. I'm not gonna go into this scene because I know for a fact I'm gonna have family members and old teachers watch this video, so I'm not gonna go into it. And second, this scene does absolutely nothing for the movie. There's no point. None of the main characters are in it. It doesn't have anything to do with the story. Like, you could literally cut this entire scene out and you would miss absolutely nothing. I mean, you could have the same argument for I Like Boys, but that scene is way too enjoyable to cut out. Anyway, moving on. We then get to a scene between Louise and her high school theater director. So Louise's theater director then finds a necklace in the theater storage room and gives it to Louise. That's a surprise tool that'll help us later. So later on, Randa and her friend stop Polly and Louise in the middle of the stairwell, which, by the way, if you do that in any high school in real life, you will get shoulder checked and you will get yelled at. So Randa is all like, "Look, I know I'm the reason why nobody showed up to your party and stuff, but my cousin needs a date to the dance, so would you like to come with us?" And Louise is all like, "Despite all the red flags, sure." Are Louise and Polly both stupid? Are they dumb? For what reason do they think Randa's offer is legit? For what reason? So it turns out Randa's offer was not legit. I am so shocked. And now Louise has to go to the dance with Randa's super nerdy cousin, which I don't remember his name, and I don't care to remember his name. You know he's a nerd because he acts goofy and he wears glasses. He even asks Louise, "Why aren't you wearing your glasses?" Because glasses automatically make you a nerd and not cute in any way. So they get to the school and Louise does the whole, "I'm going to change out of what my parents want me to wear into what I want to wear." She changes out of whatever she was wearing before, and then she changes into Party City's interpretation of the 80s. And when her date sees her, he does this over the top laugh, which I can't even mock it. I just gotta show it. So then Louise and her date start roasting each other for what they're wearing. The nerd is all like, "What are you trying to do? Embarrass me?" And Louise is all like, "Oh yeah, well, nice bow tie." Later during the dance, Louise wishes Brad will look at her. And then she wishes Brad will walk towards her. And then, oh my god, her wishes come true. By the way, we're a half hour into this movie, and we are just now seeing Louise actually do witch stuff. The pacing in this movie is immaculate. So eventually, Louise and the nerd leave the dance, and folks, we have made it to the #1 worst driver in this movie. Because he almost wrecks the car. Because he's not paying attention to the road. Because he's sexually assaulting her. Louise is finally like, "I wish you would go away." And then all of a sudden the nerd disappears. In fact, we never even see him again throughout the entire movie. Which I don't mind one bit because this dude was straight trash. So Louise runs to Madame Serena, who's not home. So then Louise runs home and she finds her brother making pizza because, you know, food. One of his 2 personality traits. She accidentally turns him into a dog, which definitely won't land him into therapy later, and then sticks him in a bathtub, which is conveniently already filled with... I'm not even going to question anything at this point. And he changes back. The next day, Madame Serena tells Louise that this is because her beginner spells are very weak and they can be reversed with water. Not gonna lie, I think the relationship between Louise and Madame Serena is probably one of the highest points in the movie, and that is because of their performances and how well they're playing off each other. Robin Lively gives a good performance in this movie because she is not going over the top with anything, and she's actually playing a believable teenage girl. At least according to the source material, is a believable teenage girl. Zelda Rubinstein gives a good performance because you can tell that she believes what she's saying, and she is honestly giving this performance her all in this movie. She could have easily went over the top because usually a character like this would be played as such, but instead she took a more motherly mentor route, whatever. Seriously, I want this woman to give me advice and give me a hug. For the next good portion of this movie, Louise decides to do what I think any teenage girl would do. She found out she had magical powers and she decides to screw around for a little bit. She makes it windy, then she makes it rainy, then she makes a carousel start. She turns the popular girls against each other. Madame Serena helps her turn a man into a toad. And she even tries to use a spell to get Brad to fall in love with her in a scene that I got secondhand embarrassment from. Good lord. But then Louise chickens out and decides that she wants Brad to fall in love with her and not some spell. Poetic. Later in the worst teacher's class, oh, I hate this guy. Brad and Louise have a bit of a heart-to-heart. Brad is all like, I'm sorry I made you go home with that nerd. And Louise is all like, nah, he was harmless. Bruh.
Give me one kiss and I'll be nice.
Then Brad talks about how he can never concentrate at the end of the year. Wait a minute. This is the end of the school year? Then why are they having football practice? I guess you could use the excuse for, they're practicing for next year's season, but Brad's a senior! There is no next year for him. Louise then asks Brad why he puts up with Randa, and Brad, being the condescending 26-year-old teenage boy he is, responds with, well, every guy wants to date the most popular girl in high school. And this gives Louise an idea. But before we get to that, we have to address the next couple of scenes in this movie.
Birth control pills.
You know? I see a lawsuit in this dude's future. So Louise decides to make a voodoo doll out of the jerk teacher and makes him striptease in front of the whole class. And to make things even better, someone whom I'm assuming is the principal walks in and he gets in trouble. After this, I guess the writers decided they want more voodoo dolls, so they made the teacher fall down the stairs. And then they make the teacher walk into a car wash after the doll gets put in the laundry. I mean, points for creativity, I guess. So after that, Louise then uses her magic to make her theater director win the law. What's the point in this movie? Where's the conflict? Every story needs it. I mean, it's what they teach you in high school English. I mean, Louise gets into like situations here and there, but what is the main conflict in the story? Ever since we got to the witch stuff, it's just been Louise's side adventures. Don't get me wrong, it's entertaining and fun, but what's the point in this movie? Where's it gonna go from here? How is it going to end? Everybody shut up and pay attention! Here it is! Not only is it the worst, but it is the best musical number in this movie. Not only is it the best musical number, it is the best scene in this entire movie. This scene has made its mark for being the widest scene in cinematic history. This scene has forever gone down in infamy.
I'm hot, and you're not. But if you want to hang with me, I'll give it one shot. Top that.
So Polly's observing this debacle and she's all like, look how funky he is. I'll never be hit. And then I guess there's a spell over being funky and hit because, and then this happens.
Supersonic, idiotic, disconnected, not respected. Who would ever really want to go and top that?
And then Polly and this dude, they really pop off here.
What's this?
Stop that.
But give.
Top that. I don't really give a about trying to stop that.
Top that.
Big deal.
Stop that.
Unreal.
You can try to, you blue.
I will make a fool of you.
Top that.
You know, I actually knew about this scene before I even watched this movie. There have been parodies of it, the cast members were interviewed about it, and it was even featured in 30 Rock. Honestly, this movie would not even be considered the cult classic that it is if it wasn't for this scene. Man, I don't even know how to ease back into this review. I guess I'll just go on. Anyway, Louise then asks Madame Serena for a spell to become popular. So to complete the spell, Louise has to get a piece of clothing from the person that she wants to be like, I guess. So Louise and Polly then go to the concert of this one chick who's famous, I guess. Louise tricks the guard into letting her and Polly backstage. The singer then runs off stage in the middle of the song and then gives Louise her jacket. Throughout this entire scene, I was just wondering, is Polly not the least bit confused? Why isn't Polly questioning anything at this point? Is she not wondering how they're able to get backstage at a famous singer's concert? Is she not wondering why Louise and the singer are talking like they're friends? Does Polly know that Louise is a witch? I mean, she probably does. In fact, the whole school probably knows because Louise is not discreet about anything.
Phenolphilon, Athenota.
What?
Astaroth, Barabas, Tetragrammaton, Theos, Ischinos, Arthetos. What?
So, is Polly just not going to question anything at this point? I guess not. So, Louise finally uses the spell and then has the most underwhelming reveal of all time. Don't get me wrong, she pops off in that outfit. In fact, she pops off in every outfit from this point forward. But with all that buildup, I was just expecting something a little bigger. But this spell has led us into another musical number. This one is about her being the most popular girl in school.
I'm gonna be the most popular girl.
All of a sudden, everyone at school loves her. She has ditched Polly, and she dances like Robin Sparkles from How I Met Your Mother. So later on, Brad takes Louise to an abandoned house, which, first of all, he's acting really creepy. Like, there's this one part, he's like staring at Louise from the top of the stairs, and then he runs away like he's Batman or something. They look at each other for a while and they don't say anything to each other, and then they finally start making out, and it is the most uncomfortable making out scene I think I've ever seen, because it happens for an obnoxiously long time. The camera is like really up close. Also, the fact that they're in an abandoned house just makes it so much worse. And this whole time I was wondering, did Brad and Randa ever break up? Is he just like cheating on her at this point? How are we supposed to root for Brad and Louise if Brad and Randa are unclear? Also, I just want to point out that Robin Lively was 17 when she did this movie. The guy who played Brad, he was 26. It just got more uncomfortable. Moving on, Louise then asks Madame Serena if Brad is falling in love with her or if it's because of the spell. And then Madame Serena gives Louise advice about love.
Falling in love is just a trick anyway. The right lighting, the right music, the right haircut. People fall in love and then one day it's over.
Period. This also makes me wonder how this popularity spell actually works. If everybody at this school is under Louise's spell, then shouldn't Polly be too? Because it's pretty clear that Polly's mad at her. But if the spell only changed Louise's looks, then whew, the people at this school are sheep. Because there are signs for her everywhere, she always has a crowd behind her, people are sending her stuff, and people are even copying her. Also, did she really need to go through all this trouble just for something that she could have achieved with the trip to the mall? I know I shouldn't be thinking about this too hard, but like, I can't help it. Louise accidentally used the spell to make the lead of the school play break her leg by softly tripping over a ladder. She barely went down. She didn't fall that hard. How did she break? Anyway, then Polly, being the bitter, toxic friend that she is all like, "What'd you do, Louise? Trip her?" Louise wasn't standing anywhere near her. Polly just straight up sucks. So later, Brad asks Louise to the school dance, and he's all like, "I like you because you're honest and you're not fake or anything." Which is ironic because Louise is being fake. Haven't seen that irony in a movie before. But then Louise rejects him and tells him that he needs to go to the dance with Randa instead. But then Brad is all like, "But I don't want to go to the dance with Randa. I want to go with you." So he's leading Randa on and using her as a safety net. Look, I know Randa is not the nicest person in this movie, but like, she deserves better than Brad. Hashtag justice for Randa. Also, I just want to point out that the guy who played Brad and the girl who played Randa actually fell in love while filming this movie, and they got married soon after, so it's cute. So Louise goes to Madame Serena, and she's all like, "Being popular straight up sucks." And Madame Serena is all like, "The real magic is believing in yourself." So then we finally get to the school dance, because it would not be an 80s teen movie without it. Brad and Randa go to the dance together. The girl who broke her leg apparently had a miraculous recovery because she's just fine now. Then Louise and Madame Serena walking together, which I think it's cute that they went together. This is literally the only time in the movie where I actually went, "Aww." And then Polly ends up getting with the top of that guy. A power couple in the making. Then the epic teen movie finale music kicks in, and Louise rips off her necklace and throws it across the room. Brad straight up ditches Randa for Louise. Then her and Brad share their epic final dance, and they have their epic final kiss. The end. Filmmaking, critic-wise, this movie ain't it. It's not good. But did I enjoy it? Absolutely. It's kind of a shame that it did so terribly at the box office, but I'm really glad that it's found a new life with reruns on TV. I can definitely see why it's a cult classic. In fact, I may be a part of that cult now. It's actually a really fun movie if you turn your brain off and don't think about the many plot holes that it has. Even the parts that made absolutely no sense were enjoyable. The musical numbers, terrible. But I loved them. Especially Top That. Cinematic gold right there. If you'd like to check out Teen Witch for yourself, it is currently streaming on HBO Max. Thank you for watching my very first movie review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I did a good job. I'm really hoping that it kicks off because I'm really looking forward to doing it. Anyway, remember, love is a trick and don't be like Polly.